is very, very easy. All you got to go do is go to live365.com. In the search engine, type in Ride 95. All right, once you see our station logo, click on our station logo and you'll hear music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. All right, now, if you want to access us via your mobile device, it's easy. All you got to do is the same thing. Download the Live 365 app, go into the search engine, type in Ride 95, click on our station logo, and you have us locked in for music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Again, one time for the good people of Live 365 for partnering up with us and allowing us to launch our very own media-based internet radio station. All right, today is Tuesday, August the 18th. I got a few birthdays I got to run down for you guys. Got to say happy birthday to one of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan, Master Killer. Master Killer turns 51 years old today. Also got to say happy birthday to one of the original members of Ice-T's Rhyme Syndicate. You also know him from the group of House of Pain, and he's had a very successful solo career. Happy birthday to MC Everlast. Everlast also turns 51 years old today. Gotta say happy birthday to one of the members of the group Clips, the brother of Pusha T, No Malice. No Malice turns 48 years old today. Gotta say happy birthday to one of the original members of the Juice Crew, Tragedy Gaddafi, turns 49 years old today. And one of the founding forefathers of Detroit hip-hop, one of the members of the group Fat Killers. You also know him from the movie 8 Mile, King Gordy. King Gordy turns 43 years old today, so definitely happy birthday to King Gordy. All right, gotta say congratulations to a former guest of the Ridin Durty show. Man, I've interviewed her so many times over her very, very young career. She's only 22 years old, but I started interviewing her when she was around 8. But I gotta say, congratulations to Mulatto. All right, Mulatto, number one. I gotta congratulate her on being one of the 12 members of the 2020 XXL freshman cover. But I also gotta congratulate her for having her first top 100 single. She has a single that's definitely blowing up at radio, and it's called "Bitch from the South." And I gotta say, congratulations to her for having a single crack the top 100 charts. That's a major accomplishment for someone who I've seen start gracing the stage at age 8 years old. Congratulations to her, her father Shane, her mother, her sister. They're a very tight-knit family, and she's definitely done her thing. And definitely congratulations to Mulatto for cracking the top 100 charts. All right, gotta say one time for Master P. Now, you know Master P has definitely been trending for the past 3 weeks because he has a docu-series on BET, the No Limit Chronicles. Well, he's also stepped up and he's actually paying for the funeral of a slain 3-year-old in Kentucky. So one time for Master P and the whole No Limit family. He's handling all the funeral expenses for the slain 3-year-old that was killed in Kentucky. All right, so again, Master P is always putting his money where his mouth is. Also got to say one time for UK rapper Stormies. Stormies is donating $650,000 to help disadvantaged students in the UK. All right, he's also putting this money towards racial equality. So definitely one time for Stormies, who is definitely always been on the forefront when it comes to helping the people in UK. All right, gotta say one time for Common. He just finished his 3rd successful season of his executive produced series on Showtime, The Shy, but he's also launching a new self-help series. He has a show that's going to basically help people with mental health wellness. So again, salute to Common for definitely doing good in the hood. And also got to say this, congratulations, and finally there have been 2 men arrested for the murder of Jam Master Jay. You know, Jam Master Jay was killed 18 years ago. Actually, his case had become a cold case. Well, on Monday, 2 gentlemen were arrested for his murder. So after almost 20 years, they finally arrested someone for the murder of Jam Master Jay, and they are possibly facing the death penalty. So thank God for that. Finally, his family can move forward and, you know, and have some form of closure. But again, 2 gentlemen have been arrested for the murder of Jam Master Jay. If you want to know more about that, y'all can check out, I've done a news piece on it on my YouTube page at Ridin Durty TV. So make sure you log on, subscribe to our YouTube page, and check out the news piece. Alright? Alright. Now I just gave y'all celebrity news. I also let y'all know about celebrity birthdays, as well as letting y'all know about our brand new radio station, Ride 95. Now it's time for me to do what I enjoy doing most, and that's talking to the people on the street who are definitely changing the culture as we speak. And tonight is no different than any other night on the Ridin Durty show. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Ridin Durty platform, Yvonne Turner. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm excellent. It's Haven.
It's Haven?
Haven Turner.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
Yes, boss man, Haven. Oh, you good, boss, you good. Now, actually, my dad sticks his chest out. If you know, there was a football player by the name of Haven Moses, and he played for the Denver Broncos, and that's actually who I'm named after. So, if it's not familiar, you can go ahead and look him up, but I'm actually named after a man, but it's Haven, and it's okay. I've had that name my whole life, and I'm used to it getting, turned upside down and playing and played in different ways. But it's good, boss, and I'm very happy to be here in my Coming to America voice.
Now, the first thing I gotta ask, did your parents have a relationship with the aforementioned Haven?
No, actually, they did not. So the story goes, now, in fact, my mom's name is Jeffrey. So to keep that boy name going with the girls, that's when my dad, was like, okay, well, I want to name her Haven. So that's what the story is behind it. And trust me, he loves it. Every time I get a compliment about my name and everything, his chest just sticks out. But that's what the story is behind it. And thank you for asking with that.
All right. Now, let's let the world know where you're from.
Wow. Well, I will say I was born in Indiana, but I was actually raised in Colorado. So I am G.I., Gary, Indiana, home of Michael Jackson and many others. But I was actually raised in Colorado.
All right. So what was your childhood like? Did you have any siblings? What was the household life for you?
Well, it's so funny because now that I'm able to release all in love and trust, I thank God for my childhood. I do have an older sibling, and we were funny and outgoing individuals. The flip side is that my mother had us in church 8 days a week. So that made for a very boxed individual, and it was also a beautiful thing. Or like I will say, being raised in Colorado, I received a lot of comments on the end like, there's black folks in Colorado. So it was an interesting and diverse palette that I was raised with, and it was very different as well. But we were very funny, very outgoing people, but there was church involved in that flip. One thing, though, that I do thank God for is my mom and the opportunity of read alouds, and my mom read everything, got her hands a hold of everything. So I did grow up with exposure to a lot of literature. So becoming an author and a self-help author, that was like, I couldn't see it then, but it was right along the lines. It was leading up to me in this moment.
All right, now, having a mother who read everything, who she can get her hands on, because one time for my mother was the same way. She read everything she got her hands on. At what point did you realize that through all the reading she done, first of all, then when did you realize she passed it on to you? Because in order to be an author, you got to like to read.
At this point, Logan County Children's Service
Like, at what point?
It kept the last. Go ahead, boss.
At what point did you realize her love for reading was passed on to you?
later, the children were all ordered for
Oh, that's crazy, but an excellent question. When I was in the pit and learning my life's greatest lesson, that's when I thank God for my mom having me in church 8 days out of the week. As it pertains to a specific moment, I will say that I am a former classroom educator, so I was an elementary ed teacher for 5 years, and it was during those experiences as an elementary educator that it really hit me the pivotal, the profound, the effect and the steps that my mother was taking that it really hit me. Hey, like, read alouds are a privilege. Your mother reading aloud to you is a privilege. In church 8 days a week, that's a privilege. If you mention a book and it is brought for you, that is a privilege. So I will say I did not realize or appreciate that gift until I was actually a teacher in the classroom and was able to see what that lack of exposure actually produces. So it's amazing because I would kick, punch, fight, and scream, of course, as a youth. And now that I'm older, I thank God for all of that, sometimes borderline craziness,
Okay. Now, who are some of the authors you admired growing up?
Oh, and I love this question. Thank you so much. So when I was younger, Mildred D. Taylor, I read all of her books. And what's funny about that is that I discovered that she had a book that slipped by me. So Mildred D. Taylor. And then another funny yet true story is that I love Donald Goines. So in my top 5 books, one of my top 5 favorite books is Black Girl Lost by Donald Goines. And so, as an author, he was very explicit, illicit, and all those good things. So growing up, in order to check out a Donald Goines book, because you're 17 and under, well, I grew up in Colorado, you had to have a parent's permission. So I've been reading all his books, and had been getting away with reading them. And then one time I went to the library, and it was a new employee just so stoked about his job and everything. And he's the one that stopped me and was like, hey, you're under 17, you need your parents' permission to get this, and that. And when my mom saw that I had been reading Donald Goines' books, she shut that down all the way. But actually, Mildred D. Taylor, Donald Goines, Omar Tyree, I actually mentioned him in my book, Omar Tyree, and Rest in Absolute Power, B.B. Moore Campbell. She was another awesome writer, and she wrote one of her many pivotal novels. She wrote a book called Sweet Summer, and that book actually falls into one of my top fave 5. And she's one of my most celebrated and decorated authors. Unfortunately, like I stated, she is resting in peace and power. Fortunately, Mildred D. Taylor and Omar Tyree, they are still living. But another author, Florence Scovel Shinn, and as well as Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Agape Feast in Culver City, California. Delicious, delicious authors, all of them. And thank you for even inquiring with that, because authors give life, and authors allow for transparency. so that you know that you are human. So that's one thing that I love about all of the aforementioned authors. You know, they deliver transparency yet true. And it allows you to embrace humanity. So that's one of the reasons why they have stuck with me for so long.
All right. Now, you also mentioned that you were once an educator. What was that experience like for you?
Mm-hmm. Child, a mess. So my undergrad degree is in elementary education, and I was fortunate enough to teach for 5 years, and I taught first and third grade. One thing that I will say now in hindsight is that I thank God. I was fortunate enough to teach in the South in a area considered rural or below the poverty level. So I was able to digest and learn a lot of things that fall under culture and exposure. Also, I was able to learn that education is a true high for Haven. For me, Haven is a high that no matter how much I kicked and screamed, nothing messes with education. Nothing. I don't care how mad you get with those kids in administration, how bad you fall behind. Nothing fools with education for Haven. Nothing compares to changing a life and being pivotal in a life that's so young and so impressionable and everything. And that's one thing, even though I did resign and become a statistic at year number 5, and in all my complaints, I will say nothing messes with education, with being an elementary education major. It's like a high. It's a high that like it's higher than a high for me. Haven, impression in molding and shaping minds and being that impression and that staple. Nothing fools with it. To have exposure to families and people from all places and experiences, nothing tops that. I'm manifesting like childbirth and everything, so I would imagine that would. But with education, it's such a powerful dichotomy and such a it's a high. It's a high. And for me, even though I resigned with all the kicks and complaints, nothing messes with it. Like through healing and growth and releasing all the love and trust, I was able to see that that's where my true love was, and regardless of like the public education system, because maybe it was a reflection of my areas of growth. It also showed what I truly loved, what I just truly loved. You're just, as an educator, you're just exposed to so many homes and different lives that you did not know existed. And it also allows you and places you in a seat of gratitude, because speaking of read aloud and my mother, I took that for granted right up until I was in a classroom in the South, considered Title I or below the poverty level. And then it was just like, oh, my mother was not as crazy as I figured her to be. So it's education is just wow. You just say, wow, that's it. But it's a high for me that's unmatched. But and thank you again for that question too, because despite what I speak about public education, it's like in my heart, I know why I chose education, and I know why I had to go down that path to end up here.
Okay.
So,
all right.
yeah.
So
I know that was a little long.
No, that's okay.
And I apologize for that, but it's like But I do get asked that question. It's like, hey, despite what I say about public education, education is a high for me, impressionable minds. But I appreciate you, boss, for that. But what were you going to say?
All right, let's talk about the book before we run out of time. Let's talk about this amazing book.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Release,
yes.
all in love and trust. Mental strategies with physical solutions. Let's talk about the book. First of all, why you wrote it.
Okay, so it's somewhat autobiographical. So speaking of the educational system, one of the reasons why I opted to resign after my 5 years was because my body was telling me like, hey, no. Hey, no, you're about to tap out of life, not just the classroom. So I had some pressing medical issues that I was not addressing. And when I closed in on year number 5, I was just like, I can't go back. So what ended up happening was I resigned. So I was entering into my 6th year of school, and I resigned. And so I had worked 2 days of that school year. It was through that resignation and me having that time on my plate that my higher power, or however you choose to call he or she, brought a miracle, sent a miracle of love my way, and I was able to release it like, hey, you're a bitch. And it has nothing to do with public education. It has nothing to do with you eating and going to sleep, but it has everything to do with your beliefs and thoughts. And that's what I had to tap into, and that's how I realized and was able to successfully, through the help of my higher power, release over 80 pounds. And so I had to tap into my beliefs and my thoughts. And that was what was creating obesity and my waistline exploding and being fatigued and those unwanted thoughts and feelings that come with being obese. So what I did was start acknowledging the negative and low vibrating thoughts and feelings as not true, and inviting what is true, that I am whole, I am complete, that I have, that everything that is me is everything. And I do want to point out here, and I do want to stop and say that I do not want to say that everything for me with my weight release was, I thought about it and my weight was released. No, I was fortunate enough. There's a park, a community park where I live, and so I was walking that park 3 days a week. I was also fortunate enough that there was this sidewalk close to my house that ran over a mile, and I was able to walk that mile. So I will say that it's not all about, it is about the mental and your thoughts, but that I don't want to sit here and say I released over 80 pounds just by thinking it. You will have to put some physical skin in the game. Here's the beautiful thing, boss, and I put it in the book as one of the sections, and I titled it, Get a Hobby, Why Don't You? And one thing that we're missing, especially as we become adults, is falling in love with ourselves. Real talk, you can love coloring, archery, and puppeteering. And although your friends and family and coworkers may laugh you into oblivion, it's those hobbies and those situations that you have to plunge into in order to release that mental fat. So your hobby may be, kayaking, stamp collecting. Do you have a hobby that you can think of?
Yes. Yes, I definitely have hobbies.
What's some hobbies? What some hobbies do you have?
My hobbies are reporting the news.
Right. See, So what people don't understand, so you go, boss man, you had to plant your feet and discover what you love. And so what you love is informing. You love to inform because a way of informing is a sign of proper informing is a sign of progression. So you love to see people progress through information. So that's how we begin to release that mental fat that shows up in our physical bounds. And once again, I do want to stress that make sure one of your hobbies is also involves a physical activity, but you can still collect the stamps and you can still inform people and provide provocative, enriching, nutritious information. Some form of, like, for example, I was telling them that, like, when I was overweight, I got for one birthday, I got horseback riding lessons as a birthday present. I never used them, but now I will. And it's like, I know them horses will be grateful because 80 pounds heavier is no joke. But it's just certain things that's like you have to dive into that in order to fall in love with yourself and with life so those mental pounds can be released like that. And I even love how your hobby is to inform, because what we don't dive into is true information.
90 seconds.
Want to seek and reach the truth. And even in a cool manner like yourself, like your show, for example, isn't delivered in a medical journal style, yet there's progression and powerful content still contained within your subject, within your genre, within your field, you know.
Right. All right, so look, I got to ask this because we're going to run out of time. How can people get their hands
60 seconds.
How can people get their hands on your book?
Oh, they can get their hands on my book by going to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. I will tell them to hold off on Kobo because I did a preview for myself and it's like, yuck. But Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Google Books, Apple iTunes, and until I get a hold of them folks at Kobo, do not go on there. But any of your fine retailers, you will be able. Also, Boss Man, if you just simply hit that microphone button on your Google and you say, release all in love and trust, Haven
10 seconds.
It's going to pop up on your first thing for Amazon. You'll also see some other feature articles in case you're interested. But you can also, too, just go ahead and hit that the microphone button on your phone, save you time and energy, and just speak that into your phone. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, my last question. How can people keep up with you? Social media, website, like, is there, if people have questions or want to watch your journey?
Okay, I do have an interview up on YouTube. You can just type in my name, Haven Turner. For an email, it is havenbyhaven@gmail.com. Now, I do want to be transparent with you, boss. I do have an email. I do have a website, havenbyhaven.com, but I am an emerging author, and I am working on my website. It's just all new to me, so I'm learning the mechanics. So if you type in havenbyhaven.com, it's going to pop up that it's private. So I am working on my website. It's just very new to me. But however, if you email me at havenbyhaven@gmail.com, I will get right back to you. Also, I'll go ahead on and let you know when my website is up and running. But however, you still can go ahead on to Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble and go ahead and hit that purchase link today.
All right. Haven Turner, I definitely appreciate you checking in with us tonight, and I definitely appreciate you providing this positive energy.
Yes, it's a reflection, boss. It's a reflection. We just need more shows like yourself and more people willing to be a light. I like to call it a light because you want to deliver news. That means you want to inform. So that's also a level of awareness that I enjoy myself. So I thank you as well and let you know that it's a reflection. It's a reflection.
All right. You have a blessed night. One more time, tell them the name of the book.
Yes, it's Release All in Love and Trust, Mental Strategies with Physical Solutions by Haven Turner.
All right.
Also, my email is havenbyhaven@gmail.com. Hit me up with any questions, comments, or concerns. I definitely look forward to dialoguing. I definitely do.
All right. Thank you so much.
And replying back.
Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you be safe as well. And I appreciate your time. And I want to let you know that it was definitely time well spent.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please, please make sure y'all head on over to Amazon and pick up that brand new book by Mrs. Haven Turner, Release All in Love and Trust. All right. It's your boy Vic Excel. This is the Ridin Durty Show, where we bridge the gap between hip hop and everyday life. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.